Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow OTG on Twitter at OTG Basketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay. And with me tonight, special guest, OTG writer Kory Waldron and Harris Wichard. What's up, guys?
Hey, Nick. Hey, Harris. Thanks for having me on today.
What's up, Nick? Kory, great to have you with us as a Pacer specialist. So without further ado, the number 10 team in our rankings, according to our writers, the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, Pacers coming in at number 10. You know, they had a bounce-back season last year. They added some nice pieces this year. I'll start with you, Kory. What do you think about this number 10 ranking for your Pacers?
I feel like a lot of people around the NBA have kind of not written off the Pacers, but they're not really giving the full credit for how good this offseason was. They signed Al Jefferson for $30 million for 3 years. I felt like that was a steal when guys like Solomon Hill for the Pacers get $55 million from the Pelicans.
Yeah, no, that was one of the best deals of free agency right there.
Yeah, and then bringing in Jeff Teague, a veteran point guard, a little bit more drive and dish than George Hill was. And then the Thad Young trade, I think, was a really good pickup because he's an off-ball power forward.
Yeah, the Thad Young, I think it's good for Thad Young. He gets to the Indiana. He'll get a little bit more spotlight because he's a great type of player to have. Like you said, he doesn't need the ball. He'll rebound, he'll defend, he'll hustle, and he'll get you those easy baskets when necessary.
Yeah, my concern with Jefferson is he's a very solid player, but he's aging a little faster than I thought he would at 290 pounds. So he averaged 23 points a game in Minnesota in 2009, one of the bright young players in this game. And last year he was through injuries, was only able to play 47 games with 23 minutes. Now, not saying he can't bounce back, because I actually like Al Jefferson a lot. Maybe a change of system, because he was in Charlotte where they weren't really featuring him anymore, and he averaged 21 points a game 3 years ago. So if I'm a Pacer fan, I'm optimistic about Jefferson, but it's a guy that has had some problems being in great shape, injury bug. So I wouldn't say he's ready to be an all-star, but alongside a guy like Paul George, maybe that could bring out the best in him.
Well, they'll likely bring Jefferson off the bench, if I'm not mistaken. I would think they would start Miles Turner.
Yeah, from everything I've seen, Jefferson is coming off the bench, which I think is perfect because that means he's going to get, 25 minutes a game coming off the bench? That'll help him
exactly, and you can monitor his health.
Right. True.
And having Jefferson come off the bench as a scoring option is better than most teams have.
That's correct. Yeah, he's a free agent in 2019. He's been in the league for 12 years. So if he's how much are they paying him to come off the bench?
$30 million for 3 years, $10 million a year.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good contract then. Yeah, it's a good contract.
Yeah.
So Miles Turner is the starting five.
They want to go with Miles. He's 20 years old, and last year, once he came back from injury, he was great. He really lit up, and he had a huge block of LeBron James. I remember the one game, and Twitter exploded after that happened.
And in the postseason, he had some great moments too. So I think that's a smart move going with him.
Yeah, he's young though. He's a second-year guy, so he's gonna have to grow a little bit.
Yeah. Which is always nice. If you're starting a young guy in the beginning of the season, you're hoping by the time the season ends, he's starting to make that jump.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But
I like Turner a lot, though.
Yeah, no, he definitely surprised me. I thought he would have a good NBA career, but he's already probably doing better than I thought he would, especially at this rate that he's doing.
A block and a half a game for a rookie is sensational. That's very good.
And he kind of fits that new NBA. But Let's talk about the Pacers offseason. They got rid of Frank Vogel. They had Nate McMillan as an assistant coach. They promoted him. What do you think of the coaching change, Kory? How'd you feel about Vogel? What do you think about the new style they're going with?
I loved Frank. There wasn't much to love. He made 5 out of 6 seasons, playoffs. You can't really hope for much more. And he got them all playing defense. For the most part, the last 6 years, they were still even a top defensive team when they missed the playoffs when Paul George went down with the leg injury. I'm optimistic. I know that Frank didn't really want to play small ball. He liked having a big man in the middle. And I know that Nick McMillan seems to be more in tune with Larry Bird on going small. It's going to be interesting because I know that in the past he hasn't really run fast-paced offenses, but they're going to give it a chance this year.
Yeah, and they're kind of almost playing like that in-between small because Thad Young is definitely a power forward, but he's definitely undersized and more athletic than a lot of power forwards. So he kind of fits he's kind of like an easy transition to that full small ball.
Yeah, and also I think everybody kind of just measures up to the Cavaliers in the East. So they kind of just, I don't know if you strategize your lineup accordingly to what the Cavaliers are going to do or what the Raptors, Celtics, because to me, I know we haven't gotten to projections and predictions yet, but to me, this is the fourth best team in the East. And so I look at their backcourt and how they're going to measure up to Kyrie, Kyle Lowry, DeRozan, and Isaiah Thomas Bradley. To me, their front court is ahead of some of those teams, but their backcourt might struggle a little bit against the likes of those guys I mentioned.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. But let's talk about the some more offseason moves. You know, we mentioned it before we touched on some of the additions. They picked up guys like Al Jefferson. They made a trade for Thad Young, signed Kevin Seraphin, traded for Jeff Teague. So they also traded for Jeremy Evans, signed Aaron Brooks. Plenty of moves right here. No first-round pick. That's what they used to get Thad Young, but definitely a nice offseason for the Pacers. What stuck out to you, Kory? What's your favorite move?
I mean, we picked up I'm probably going to butcher his name, Georges Niang from Iowa State in the second round. And he's been great. I know the other day in just 18 minutes or 14 minutes, he had 14 points or whatever on 6 of 8 shooting with a couple of rebounds. And, guys like that make an impact right off, like in preseason, always looks good. And I'm more, like the second-year guys like Joe Young and Glenn Robinson. These guys last year weren't really big guys, but they trained hard this offseason. I know that Joe Young was in the gym at 4 a.m. almost every day this summer working out. And that's the kind of stuff that sticks out to me when I look at the offseason.
Yeah, very true. It's always nice to see the jump that the players make, after a hard offseason. What's your favorite move, Harris?
I mean, Aaron Brooks is one of those guys that if, gets in the right situation can make a strong impact. How did Christmas do last year for them?
He was in the D League much of the year. They really didn't use him.
Yeah, and he had a decent career at Syracuse, so maybe look out for him. Maybe to have, unless they put him in the D League again, so they might not use him as much. But I like the Jefferson move. I don't like the Seraphin move, but he probably won't play. You guys mentioned before the show. So Thad Young is a guy that gives you a lot of energy, as Fay knows with the Nets. He could give you some spark. But their starting lineup, like you guys told me, is what going to be, PG, Monta Ellis, Teague, the big we talked about,
Turner Young.
And Young. So, I mean, yeah, this is a team that's going to round into shape. It's George in his prime. It's looking like north of 45, 50, and it looks like they'll have an opportunity like they have every year against LeBron. And I know that's actually Kory's favorite player because they've knocked him out in the playoffs like 3 times. They're going to have a chance. I like Vogel a lot, but I think they need to open up their offense more and let Paul George be a 30-point-a-game guy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think this could definitely help Paul George offensively. Get him some easier shots, less ISOs, and maybe set him up more as a playmaker too.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
I know that going when they got Jeff Teague, that the plan is, Paul George is going to play a lot of off ball this year. They want to give Jeff Teague a lot of ability to, drive and dish. Same with Monte. And you're going to see Paul George, I think, hanging out at the 3-point line a lot more often this year.
Yeah, it'll be nice for him to have someone set him up. Like we know, we'll talk about in a little bit. George Hill didn't really do much of playmaking. He was a solid point guard, and he had some great moments for the Pacers, but overall, he didn't really set up his teammates.
It's also tough because you have a guy like Ellis who is going to play 35 minutes a game, and the ball kind of sticks to his hand a little bit. Meaning he could give you 20 a night any night, but to have a guy in your backcourt averaging 1.5 or 1.85 assists is tough. So, and if you look at George's numbers, I'm sure those assists are higher. It almost has to be by default, and it is. He averaged 4 assists a game last year. So to me, Ellis is more of a scoring threat on the perimeter. Teague's assist will be there, but George is one of those swing guys that is athletic enough. He's 6'9", 220, great build. One of the more athletic players in the league. He'll be a top 5 MVP candidate this year if the Pacers play well and he stays healthy.
And another thing, to just hop on Ellis last season, I guess he had 2 bad knees most of the season, and we saw his scoring numbers drop to 13 a game. Yeah. I guess he's feeling fresh. He did a lot of a lot of workouts over the summer to strengthen his knees, and he's feeling really good going into camp or going into the season.
There was a little talk in the points of the offseason that they were looking to trade Ellis. Do you think that's something that could happen this season? Do you want them to trade him? Or
I know that they wanted to because of what you guys said earlier. He needs the ball in his hand, and they really don't want to have Teague not with the ball in his hand. So I know they were trying to get Rudy Gay from the Kings. I'm not even sure if that would really work with Rudy Gay, but I don't think they're going to end up moving him. I think it's too late and close to the season to even worry about it.
Yeah, I think that they probably were going to move him in the offseason. They would have already done it. But what do you think about the deadline? You think it's someone they can move or switch around?
I think if anyone's going to get moved, it would probably be Monte, for sure.
Monte, yeah. All right, got your take on that. Let's talk about – go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that how I was just checking out Paul George on social media. He puts himself as – he said he considers himself a guard at 6'9". And you know what? Why not? His handle is where it needs to be, I think. He's a big two-guard that plays the three because he could defend 1 through 4. So – and he's just a really, really tough guy athletically to stop. He came back from the leg stronger than I think anybody thought he would come back. So this is a guy to definitely watch this year to become to get to that next level, the MVP type level.
Yeah, very true. Let's finish up on the departures. You know, they did lose George Hill, Jordan Hill, Solomon Hill, 3 Hills. They lost Ty Lawson, Jan Mahimni, Shane Whittington. Out of these guys, who are they going to miss the most, Kory?
I mean, it's tough because I wasn't big on George Hill. I just wasn't a big fan of him. I know that he was probably the best defender, one of the best defenders we had on the team. And he did a great job on Lowry last season in the playoffs. But I guess we're going to miss George Hill because, you know, Teague's not as good as a defender as Hill. And Hill had really developed a 3-point shot last season, very consistent. So I'm guessing George Hill is probably going to be the most missed player of those departures.
What about you, Harris? Which guy do you think they're going to miss the most?
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to say anything else besides George Hill because he seemed to have a good – I don't know if you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Kory watched a lot more of the Pacers than I do, but – I think Hill and George had a nice camaraderie there, or maybe they didn't, but from afar, maybe it looked like they did. And Hill kind of had a good understanding of how to get George going when he was hot because he did have some real big games last year. So Teague hasn't worked with a player like Paul George before. He's played with Millsap, Horford, and some of those guys in Atlanta. But it's going to be interesting to see Jeff Teague try to make George's life easier because Hill tried his best to do so.
It's funny you say that. Actually, George Hill and Paul George live on the same street, I believe, unless he moved.
Yeah, they seem to have a good relationship.
Yeah, that Pacer core seemed to have like a good relationship when they made the deep runs.
And then they had that whole thing come out that they didn't, and then they all did that like fishing trip.
Yeah.
And so like Roy Hibbert, and they were like, guys, it's all love. Like they were playing a really good team. Like the Heat were a really good team. Stevenson even pulled out the blow in the ear trick antics to try to beat LeBron James. So that was a really good Pacer team that just ran into the best player in the world.
And there's not much you can do when that happens, especially when he's on top of his game.
Yeah, that's true.
Who needs to step up for the Pacers this year?
My pick is going to be Miles Turner. Going into his second year, you don't want to see a sophomore slump, and I think given that he missed a month and a half last season, his rookie season due to a thumb injury, he kind of started off slow, and it was already in the middle of the season when he came back. That's always hard for a rookie. And I think this season, it's his time to shine. He can really become the big number 2 next to Paul George in this growing Pacers team, I feel like.
Yeah, you definitely can see the star potential when you watch Miles Turner. I don't know. He just has something about him, and the immediate impact that he had as a rookie kind of shows you that. So I think he definitely can give Paul George that kind of sidekick that he needs.
I'm going to go with the outside the box thinking here and say Al Jefferson because I think he's going to come off the bench and then start, maybe if he plays well, even start at the 5 because of Turner's inexperience, and maybe Turner could come off the bench at times. But if Jefferson could get healthy, return to the couple of year ago form, now all of a sudden you have a great 1-2 scoring punch with Ellis as a third option. You have a 3-headed monster that become the second best team in the East again. So I'm going to say Al Jefferson has to step up for the Pacers to take the necessary step of being being the second best team in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, I would just want to throw Jeff Teague's name in there just because I feel like he's going to play a big role in this team. And they're expecting, I think, a lot of things. If I'm not mistaken, is Teague from Indiana?
Yeah, Teague's homegrown.
Wake Forest.
Homegrown from
Wake Forest.
So, that has an impact. And I think, he had some really good moments with the Hawks, but he's inconsistent. That's his issue. If you can get consistency out of him, maybe playing with somebody like Paul George will help him out a lot.
Can anybody tell me why he's wearing number 44?
That was the number he wore in high school.
Oh, there you go. That'll do it.
That's pretty cool. So, next question. I already know what you're going to say, Kory. I know what I'm going to say. Are the Pacers going to be better or worse?
Way better. 100% better. They're going to be a top 4 team easily, I feel like, in the East this season.
Harris, what about you?
Well, I would obviously say better. They were a 7th seed last year. So I make a prediction that they'd be the 4th seed, so obviously better. And I think they're going to win around 50 or 51 games.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely be better just with the additions they made. And then just, they added more talent. They have some nice depth. Bring Jefferson off the bench will definitely give him that nice 6-man. So I think the Pacers will definitely surprise some people this year because I do think some people are sleeping on them still, even though they made moves.
Well, yeah, I think they're just concerned about some of the injuries and George taking that next step. But I think they'll erase all doubt with a nice fast start. They have that easy game against the Nets. No, I'm just kidding. Early on in this season. No, that was a joke. But, yeah, I know are you going to the home opener, Nick?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll be there.
All right, cool. So you'll see the Pacers in action in the second game of their season.
Maybe some early chemistry issues.
Yeah. You try to steal one early when you can. That's funny.
Enough about the Nets, but what's your final prediction for the Pacers?
51 and 31.
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I think they're going to win 55 to 60 or in that range. I feel like I'm going heavy.
Oh man, he's going all in, man.
Well, I think Paul George is going to be top 3 in MVP voting this season, though. That's why I think Paul George is set to have a breakout year. I mean, chemistry obviously could derail a lot of that, but.
Well, I think he doesn't have as much pressure as he had in previous seasons, so you'll be able to see more of his game.
I just think there's too many moving parts to put together that type of season. Now, I could be wrong, but they won 56 a couple years ago, but that took a while to build up. It went from 42, 49 to 56. New coach coming in, new system to learn. The 60-win seasons are rare. Then they got to play these Western Conference teams 8 times, those top 4 guys, and then the Cavs. I could see them getting a little hot and getting to that 52, 53. But then that 55, 60, now you're talking about taking that 1 seed away from Cleveland, which I don't think LeBron's going to let happen. So that is optimistic, and I appreciate your optimism as a Pacers fan.
Well, even that I'm to cut you off, that 56 win season they had a couple of years ago. I mean, to end that season, they went 14 and 12. That's when they had all the chemistry issues. Roy Hibbert decided he forgot how to play basketball, and that team fell apart. So that team arguably could have won 60 games too.
That team was 35 and 9 at one point.
Yeah, they started off really hot.
Yeah, 30 and 7. Wow, I didn't know they were that good. Yeah, and then they had those losses towards the end of the year. They lost 3 in a row and stuff.
Yeah, that's when all that chemistry stuff that we talked about earlier came up.
Yeah, Paul.
I'm gonna go with around 50 wins. I think they'll get over 50. I don't think 55, but maybe a few over that. So I think they'll have a good season. Playoff wise, I definitely see them in the second round. Matchups are going to impact if they get past the second round.
Yeah, that's true.
But on to League Pass. You guys can watch the Pacers this year on League Pass?
I mean, yes, I am.
Kory will see all 82.
Hopefully. Nothing comes up. As long as nothing comes up, I'll be watching.
Yeah, so, yeah, I will too. I'm a huge fan of Paul George, man. A lot of respect for him and his game and how he came back from the adversity and that injury. And he's a Fresno State guy. So I like the guys that didn't play at Duke, UNC, all those big-time colleges. He kind of went under the radar a little bit. And now he's one of the bright young stars in the game. So, yeah, I'll definitely tune in. I like to see moving parts. I like to see new coaching. I like to see them open it up a little bit. You have one of the best athletes. Get him up and down. Get him some fast break dunks. Let's see the 360 windmills. And so, yeah, I will be tuning into the Pacers, and I'll watch them pretty heavy too.
Yeah, I got to watch my guy Thad Young.
Yeah.
But also, I'm going to like the way the Pacers – I'm going to like the style the Pacers play this year. They're going to get up and down, open up that offense. something different than we're used to in the past. And obviously checking on Paul George is always fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a guy that's going to be, if I had to just quickly throw out the top 3 guys, the MVP vote name, you got to always have LeBron's name there. But Westbrook and George are 2 guys that could take it away, because I think you got to eliminate everybody on the Warriors this year, because
definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any of those guys will be able to put up those.
Yeah, so I think the MVP might go to either LeBron, Westbrook, and then right after that, I think you have to put George's name in that conversation.
I think for sure he's got to be top 5.
At least definitely top 5, maybe even better than that.
Yeah, definitely. And go to the OTG basketball page. We have MVP race. We're updating it every month. Be sure to check that out. But on to the truth. Our emoji for the Pacers, what is it, Kory?
The sun. It's the clear sky sun, because the future looks really bright after all these offseason moves, and the sun's shining in Indy.
And 17 nationally televised games, so the NBA agrees with us. They'll have them on ESPN 7 times, so that's pretty high. And then the schedule early is kind of favorable for them. They don't have to play Cleveland until mid-November, so that's not that great. They got to get Golden State in that month. Golden State a couple times, but later in November. So those first 10 or 12 games are really all winnable, like Dallas, Brooklyn, Chicago, Los Angeles, Milwaukee, Chicago, Charlotte. So I could see them getting off to a nice start and then staying there and be a mainstay in the East all year.
It'd be a big confident booster too if they started off hot with the new roster moves.
Exactly, and a new head coach. So any type of early start in NBA season always has an impact. But that wraps it up for the Pacers. Great show, guys, and thanks everybody for listening.
Harris, Nick, pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And again, OTG Basketball on Twitter, and appreciate all the positive feedback we've been getting, and continue to check out the website like Nick had mentioned. Kory, real appreciate you joining us today, and enjoyed it, and look forward to our next podcast.